The Wave Serpent is one of the best looking vehicles in the Eldari range, but there's one mistake most people make before they even pick up a paintbrush. Follow the instructions, and you'll make painting far harder than it needs to be. Fortunately, it's easy to avoid, so we're going to build it with that in mind. That means keeping key parts separate so awkward areas are easier to reach, and planning ahead before any glue touches the model. The result is a cleaner finish, less frustration, and a vehicle that's ready for the tabletop. We begin with the cockpit. Keeping the pilot and the cockpit separate makes every detail far easier to paint before we put everything inside the hull. The canopy is treated separately too. Painting the frame before final assembly avoids awkward brushwork later and keeps the clear sections clean. Before the hull goes together, we also paint the areas that will become difficult for us to reach. The loading bay, engine intakes, engine exhaust, turret recess, and weapon options are all easier to paint before final assembly. Taking a little extra time here saves a lot of effort later. With the cockpit, hull and sub-assemblies prepared, everything gets a coat of black primer and we're ready for paint. Because we're starting from a black base, it's easier to create natural shadows and build rich reds so the model doesn't look flat. The chevrons are marked out with masking tape before any colour goes on. After burnishing the tape firmly into place, we seal the tape edge with a Baden black. If any paint creeps underneath, it's black on black and simply disappears. Once that's dry, we can move straight on to the red. Rather than trying to cover everything in one heavy coat, we gradually build the colour by stippling. We start by adding white to the centre of each panel and along the leading edges of the wings. This establishes where the highlights will be before any colour goes on. Then we begin stippling a thinned down Mephiston red, letting the black primer remain visible naturally in the deeper areas. Once the first layer is established, Evil Sun Scarlet is stippled into the lighter areas to increase saturation and create a smooth transition. Working this way gives us rich reds, natural shading and smooth transitions, all without needing an airbrush. Once the tape is removed, the chevrons stay crisp with very little cleanup. From there we paint the underside black and pick out the remaining black details across the vehicle before applying a subtle dark blue dry brush. It lifts the edges, adds definition and keeps the black looking rich rather than flat. With the main colours complete, we can turn our attention to the finishing details. To bring out the panel lines, we mix a little black oil paint with odourless thinner until it flows easily. Then we simply touch it into the panel lines and around the raised details and let capillary action do the work. Any excess is removed with a cotton bud damped with thinner, leaving the panel lines clean and well defined. Next, we turn our attention to the engine glow, starting with a white base. We build the glow using Evil Sun Scarlet. Then another touch of white. Add orange where the heat is greatest. Then a little more white to the centre and finish with yellow for the hottest point. Finally, restore the black around the edge. Now that's red hot. We can finish the smaller details, picking out the metallics, gems, and other features that help bring the model to life. Base coat with lead belcher. Apply 2 thin coats of Thalasar blue contrast. 1 white dot and a half moon create the reflection. Finally, we add a few selective edge highlights, just where they'll make the biggest difference. Less really is more here. Before we apply the transfers, brush a coat of gloss varnish onto the areas where they'll be placed. This gives us a smooth surface and helps prevent silvering. The transfer is soaked in water while we brush a little micro set onto the model. Once the transfer loosens from the backing paper, we slide it into position and gently remove any excess water. A coat of microsol softens the transfer, allowing it to conform to the surface detail. On tighter curves, a second coat may be needed. Once the transfer is fully dried, the model receives a final coat of varnish to protect the finish and remove the shine from the decals. With that done, everything is ready for the final assembly. With the painting complete, it's finally time to bring everything together. The canopy is fitted, the turret drops into place, and the weapons are installed, turning a collection of parts into a finished Wave Serpent. By planning the build with painting in mind, every stage has become easier, cleaner, and far more enjoyable. The result is a battle-ready Wave Serpent that's ready for the tabletop. I hope that some of these techniques help with your own projects. Until next time, paint it, finish it, play.